Hello again everyone, I'm Daniel, the cross-cultural nerd, here with another video for you today. It is February, and you know what that means, it's Black History Month in the US and Canada. This will be the first of a short series of videos featuring both real-life black people and fictional black characters in nerdy media that is more known for highlighting other races instead. For the first video, we are going to focus on black characters in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series as well as the Fantastic Beasts films. In January 2018, before this channel was created, the hashtag Black Hogwarts started trending on Twitter among people who wanted to point out the comparative lack of diversity in the Harry Potter cast. I will definitely agree it was way too white for modern American audiences, as we have a far higher percentage and number of black people in our population. But the cast did get close to the racial demographic of mid-1990s Britain, in which the series took place. Keep in mind that in the 2001 British census, 3 years after the Battle of Hogwarts took place in the novels, the UK as a whole was only about 2% black, and another 1.15% were mixed, most of whom also had black ancestry. This is a far smaller percentage than that of the US. Now that being said, the Black Hogwarts trend grew in popularity and drew the enthusiastic approval of J.K. Rowling herself. In pointing out the comparative racial homogeneity of Hogwarts by today's standards, though, we should not ignore the several named black characters that it did have. This video will feature the characters confirmed as black in the books or portrayed as black in the majority of the characters' major appearances. This will sadly exclude Hermione Granger, whose actress was black in the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play, and Lavender Brown, who was recast from a black actress to a white one as the part grew. Characters from the video game adaptations of the films and from Hogwarts Mystery will also not be featured. But there are still several characters to talk about. Spoilers of varying degrees for the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts films will follow, so be aware if you haven't seen them yet. Spoiler alert! First, we have Dean Thomas. Dean Thomas was a half-blood student in Harry's year, born to a wizard father and a muggle mother. His birth father didn't tell his mother he was a wizard, and when Dean was very young, was killed by Death Eaters for refusing to join them. Dean grew up with his mother and his muggle stepfather and half-siblings, believing that he was muggle-born and that his birth father had abandoned the family. He was sorted into Gryffindor and roomed with Seamus Finnegan, Ron Weasley, Harry Potter, and Neville Longbottom, drawing incredulous reactions from them for his support of the soccer team West Ham United rather than some wizarding sport. Dean would later become a member of the Dueling Club and a chaser on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. He showed astuteness and loyalty, correctly speculating about the Chamber of Secrets and staunchly supporting Harry during the Triwizard Tournament and during Umbridge's tenure at Hogwarts, even standing up to his best friend Seamus's skepticism over Voldemort's return. Dean also called out Umbridge's racist remarks about Remus Lupin, saying that he was the best teacher he ever had. He was one of the inaugural members of Dumbledore's army, and dated Ginny Weasley for several months, until she broke up with him and later moved on to Harry Potter. During his 7th year, he was on the run from the Death Eaters due to his supposed Muggle-born status, and was captured by them before being rescued from Malfoy Manor by Dobby the House Elf. His Gryffindor courage really showed when he returned to Hogwarts to fight in the final battle, starting off without a wand before winning one for himself. He survived the battle and witnessed Voldemort's final fall. Next, we have Lee Jordan. Sorted into Gryffindor 2 years ahead of Harry Potter, Lee Jordan was the roommate and best friend of Fred and George Weasley. He would often take part in their pranks, experiments with magical inventions, and jaunts around the secret passages of the school. He was the Quidditch announcer during Harry's first few years, with particular bias for his own house and against Slytherin, not entirely without reason, as Slytherin did cheat on several occasions. He also had an unrequited crush on his fellow housemate, Angelina Johnson. He theorized a Slytherin had released the basilisk from the Chamber of Secrets and advocated the expulsion of all the Slytherin students. During the Triwizard Tournament, Lee unsuccessfully tried helping the Weasley twins circumvent the age limit for entry, with hilarious results that he did laugh at himself. In his 7th year, he had the brass balls to sass Dolores Umbridge to her face, using her own rules against her, and earning detention and lines with her blood quill for his trouble. He kept up the Weasley twins' campaign of mischief against Umbridge, magically sending nifflers through her office window, and he was one of the inaugural members of Dumbledore's army. After his graduation, during the Second Wizarding War, Lee hosted the underground radio show Potterwatch to help the resistance against Voldemort and advocated the equal treatment of wizard and muggle alike. He would later fight in the Battle of Hogwarts, using his knowledge of Hogwarts' secret passages to great effect. For our third person, we have Angelina Johnson. Angelina Johnson was a classmate and good friend of Lee Jordan and the Weasley twins, along with Alicia Spinnet and Katie Bell. Lee had feelings for her that she did not return. Instead, she started up a relationship with Fred Weasley later in her time at Hogwarts. By the time Harry Potter joined the Quidditch team, she was already a skilled chaser, and she made sure that the women on the Gryffindor Quidditch team were acknowledged and showed a lot of leadership ability. In her 6th year, she tried to enter the Triwizard Tournament, but was not selected. Later, she would attend the Yule Ball with Fred Weasley. She was one of the first to notice Cedric Diggory was dead upon the end of the tournament. As Quidditch captain in her final year, she came into her own as a leader, with competitiveness and serious outlook, standing up to Dolores Umbridge over the cancellation of Quidditch, and she also joined Dumbledore's army against Umbridge. She would later return after graduation to fight in the Battle of Hogwarts. She lost her first love, Fred Weasley, when he died in the battle, but she would later go on in the future to fall in love with and marry his twin brother, George. Our fourth person is Alicia Spinnet. Alicia Spinnet was one of the best friends of Angelina Johnson and was in the same year as her, Lee Jordan, and the Weasley twins. She was most well known for her Quidditch ability, making the team as a reserve and joining the main Gryffindor lineup as a chaser in her 3rd year. Also, most often attempting the team's penalty shots. She cared deeply for her friends, wanting to take a forfeit in a match rather than see her friend Harry Potter potentially killed by the Charmed Bludger in her 4th year. Furthermore, Alicia abhorred blood supremacy, openly denouncing Draco Malfoy for calling Hermione Granger a mudblood. She joined the dueling club in her 4th year, and in her final year, she joined Dumbledore's army against Dolores Umbridge. Also, she spoke very highly of Professor Flitwick in the face of Umbridge's biased questions about him. Alicia would later fight in the Battle of Hogwarts. It should be noted that in the films, she had no lines, and was also recast as White in later films. However, those later actresses are uncredited, and so she makes it on this list. Number 5 is Blaise Zabini. Blaise Zabini was the son of a beautiful woman widowed 7 times under suspicious circumstances, inheriting lots of money from each husband. He entered Hogwarts in the same year as Harry Potter and was sorted into Slytherin. He was vain and kept to himself, but got along passingly with Draco Malfoy, Pansy Parkinson, Gregory Goyle, and Vincent Crabbe. He never got much focus until his 6th year, when he was invited to join Professor Slughorn's prestigious Slug Club due to his abilities and lack of familial connections to Death Eaters. Despite his blood supremacist views, he did not seem to favor the Death Eaters, as he mocked Draco for his father Lucius being outed as one. He also showed a high ability at making potions. In his final year at Hogwarts, he was among the Slytherins evacuated before the final battle. In the final film, he replaces Vincent Crabbe as one of Draco's cronies, as Vincent's actor had received a criminal conviction and was dropped from the cast. Next, we have Kingsley Shacklebolt. Kingsley Shacklebolt was born into one of the Sacred 28 wizarding families. After his tenure at Hogwarts, he worked his way through the ranks at the Ministry of Magic, and at the time of the series was a high-ranking Auror, who, for those who don't know, is kind of a wizard cop/soldier that confronts significant threats. And he was also a superb duelist. He led the task force for recapturing Sirius Black and joined the Order of the Phoenix upon being convinced of Voldemort's return. Kingsley worked undercover as one of Dumbledore's allies during the Ministry's smear campaign against Dumbledore in the wake of Voldemort's return, and minimized any gains of Dolores Umbridge and Cornelius Fudge while maintaining his cover. When Harry Potter and his friends went to the Department of Mysteries intending to save Sirius Black from non-existent captivity, Kingsley joined the battle with Sirius, Tonks, Alastor Moody, and Remus Lupin, and dueled 4 Death Eaters, including Bellatrix Lestrange. When it was decided the Muggle Prime Minister needed protection, Kingsley was assigned to him as his undercover secretary and protector. As the Second Wizarding War broke out, Kingsley sent the Dursley family into hiding for their protection and rode with Hermione Granger to escort Harry to safety. He took up the leadership of the Order of the Phoenix in the wake of the deaths of Dumbledore and Moody. He warned those at Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour's wedding of the fall of the Ministry to Voldemort, and later went into hiding and helped the underground resistance, appearing on Lee Jordan's radio show Potterwatch as well. He was one of the leaders in orchestrating the final defense of Hogwarts, and during parts of the battle, teamed up with Professor McGonagall and Professor Slughorn against Voldemort for a time. After Voldemort's defeat, Kingsley was made the permanent Minister for Magic, instituting many reforms and cracking down on corruption, before stepping down for his eventual successor, Hermione Granger, almost 20 years later. From here, we're going to move on to a few characters in the Fantastic Beasts films, starting first with Seraphina Picquery. Seraphina Picquery was born in Savannah, Georgia, and was one of the few to be picked for all 4 houses at Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, opting to be in Horned Serpent. She worked her way up through America's magical ranks before becoming the president of the Magical Congress of the United States of America, or MACUSA, from 1920 to 1928. She kept alcohol legal for the magical community during Prohibition. In 1926, she was faced with magical disturbances in New York, compounded by the arrival of Newt Scamander and his escaped creatures threatening to violate the Statute of Secrecy. In light of similar disturbances in Europe, Seraphina guessed that Gellert Grindelwald was responsible. After the obscurus of Credence Barebone killed Senator Henry Shaw Jr., she discussed the matter with Newt, and after a couple of hiccups, she met up with Newt and with Tina Goldstein when they were confronting Credence. After her presence spooked Credence, she ordered her Aurors to destroy him. When Gellert Grindelwald, disguised as her head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, Percival Graves, attacked her and her Aurors afterward, Newt helped to subdue him. During the next year, Seraphina made the Thunderbird and later all North American magical beasts protected species and oversaw the start of Grindelwald's ill-fated attempted transfer to London. Next, we have Leta Lestrange. Leta was born in 1896 to the French wizard Corvus Lestrange IV and the Senegalese witch Lorena Kama, who was kidnapped by Imperious Curse and raped by Corvus. Leta was unloved by Corvus and was sent to America with her half-brother. On the ship, she switched babies so as to get some relief from her brother's crying, but right after the switch, the boat sank and her brother drowned. She returned to Europe, while the boy that she did save would grow up in the States under the name Credence Barebone. Leta entered Hogwarts in 1908 and was sorted into House Slytherin. She was bullied because of the gossip about her past, and she sometimes lashed out at the bullies who taunted her. But she became close friends with Newt Scamander, a Hufflepuff in her year, and a fellow outsider. In her 4th or 5th year, she conducted an experiment with a Jarvie that went wrong and put other students in danger. She would have been expelled if not for Newt taking the fall out of loyalty to her. Leta graduated in 1915 as one of Dumbledore's best students, and in time fell in love with Newt's brother Theseus. In 1927, she got a job at the British Ministry of Magic as Torquil Travers' assistant, and was assigned to help ask Dumbledore about Newt's movements in France. She heard Credence might be her long-lost half-brother and went to check her family records. Upon seeing Newt and Tina there, she went with them to her family's tomb at the Père Lachaise Cemetery and ran into Jacob Kowalski, Credence Nagini, and Yusuf Kama, who was revealed to be her true half-brother. Grindelwald held his pure-blood rally at Père Lachaise and invited her to join, but she distracted him long enough to let the good guys get away, dying in the process. She is one of the few unambiguously good Slytherins we have seen so far in the franchise. Last but not least, we have Yusuf Kama. Yusuf Kama was born to the Senegalese Mustafa and Lorena Kama. Corvus Lestrange IV kidnapped his mother with the Imperious Curse when Yusuf was 12, leaving Mustafa, his father, mad with grief. At his father's urging, he swore an unbreakable vow to find and kill whoever Corvus loved most in the world out of vengeance. Most likely, this would be the child of Corvus' second marriage. Unbeknownst to him, said child was killed in the US-bound ship that Leta was on when it wrecked. In the 1920s, Yusuf's research led him to Credence Barebone, but the revelation of Leta's past proved that Credence was not Yusuf's half-brother, and his real half-brother was long dead, thus eliminating his unbreakable vow. In the following fracas with Grindelwald at Père Lachaise, Yusuf helped the good guys who survived Grindelwald's onslaught and helped contain the resulting flames, and later met with Dumbledore at Hogwarts. As an adult, he was very skilled at charms and detective work, as he could quickly disarm Newt and help contain Grindelwald's magic. And with that, we have the major black characters in the Harry Potter franchise. Did I forget anybody? Let me know in the comments. Before we go, I have one little side note. While the Harry Potter series has been criticized for its lack of diversity by today's standards, I did mention before that at least it nearly matches the racial demographic of the United Kingdom during its setting, the mid-1990s. However, what about Beaubatons, the French wizarding school? France had a half-black general-in-chief of one of their armies a generation before the UK banned the slave trade and continued to be a leader in civil rights for non-whites compared to the other European powers and America. Yet, Beaubatons' delegation to the Tri-Wizard Tournament has 0 people of color that we can see. The closest we get is an actress of Turkish ancestry, and I had to do a search to find that because she still looked Caucasian. At least Durmstrang had an excuse being from Eastern Europe and all, but come on, Beaubaton? N'importe quoi. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments about me, the video, or this channel, post in the comments section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook at The Cross Cultural Nerd, and on Twitter at XCulturalNerd. I'm Daniel, the Cross Cultural Nerd. I'll see you in the next Black History Month video with a profile of the black characters in Overwatch. Have a great day. Bye-bye.